I find myself extremely attracted to fast growers these days,
Right.
and just stuff that another thing I'm going to add to my checklist based on this book. Can the stock at least triple? Peter Lynch talks about the multi-bagger so much, and the outperformance comes from. I'm just writing this down. Can the stock triple? The outperformance comes from these multi-baggers. I've seen it in my own portfolio in the last year. Like my year was made because of what Racist did. And it's also because I had a very large position in that. And I think just slowing myself down on that checklist and going, make the case for this stock to triple. And if I can't, why am I in it? And maybe double is a better amount to use there, but at least trying to think through the runway and think through the destination analysis. And instead of looking at the lower side of like, well, it pays a 3% dividend and it's going to grow at 5% a year, asking myself, no, I want to outperform the market. I want to do it with a margin of safety. How does this thing triple? How is this thing worth at least 3 times what I'm buying it for? Maybe I'll change that to a double, but just adding that to the checklist. So that's kind of where my mindset is these days, looking for really undervalued stuff or stuff that can grow a ton, which is usually the same.
We even talked about Mohnish initially, and him reading Peter Lynch. And I remember like earlier, before Mohnish got into the whole spawner framework and everything, his whole thing was be unreasonable. You want growth at a PE of 1. Don't talk to me about a stock unless you can justify 0 behind the stock price. He was looking for those multi-baggers, the 10 baggers, the 5 baggers. That's what he was going for. He was going for the home runs. Compound 26 was the kind of thing that he was focused on. And I think that's a good thing for at least the amateur investor, the fund manager who's like, I think less than 5 million, right, at AUM, to go for those multi-baggers, to aim for the stuff that can double, triple in like 3 years. That's kind of the sweet spot for most of where they should be fishing.
Yeah, he's also talked about when people send him ideas at the top of what they send him, how much is the business worth today? How much does it cost? Yeah. What's it going to be worth? And he's made jokes like, well, if it's not 10 times, I don't want to read it. So I think just being unreasonable like that is a good mindset. And the other thing that's nice about being unreasonable is all you need is one idea a year, and really probably even less than that, because if some of this stuff really does work out.
One idea in like 5 years, that's a 10x done. You're set.
And you're set, yeah. So and when it comes to this book, he was so active. Peter Lynch, like 1,300 stocks and all these different businesses. It's definitely a different style, but there's definitely good lessons to be learned that I'm implementing into my own style. That's kind of my big takeaway from this book.
Absolutely. Like we've read this initially when we were just starting out, before even we got invested. We're reading this now when we've relatively had our fair share of wins and losses, massive losses and massive wins. But, we're still learning something new with this book. So that's kind of the idea of the book club, to kind of bring up the book, maybe something we've read before or something new, and kind of share what we've learned, and hopefully the audience kind of enjoys that too.
Yeah, to stay sharp. And one of my key takeaways I wrote down is to ignore the noise. And there's a lot in this book where he's talking about ignore people's perceptions of businesses, ignore people's gossip and things like that. And also ignore the overall macro environment we're in. He talks a lot about making money in stocks when interest rates were high and everyone was worried about the economy. That's a place we somewhat find ourselves in today. And I think that's what the book club can do. It can be just focus on investing, focus on the business. Like next month, we're going to be talking about Tencent, and it's going to be fun to just really dig inside Tencent and talk about all the businesses that they're associated with, and